thanks everyone for being here. We really appreciate it. After the event's over, make sure you come outside, and I'll be right out here. You can sign out by swiping your Cardinal One card. If you don't have that, you can just tell me your L number, and I'll sign you out that way. Today we have Mr. Matt McCallon from Internships Energy. He's going to talk to you guys about internships.
All right, thank you, Jacob. Good afternoon. How are you guys doing? Good. So my name is Matt. Like Jacob said, I work for Internships Energy. Does anyone know what Internships Energy is? Not really. That's okay. I'll explain it a little bit. I am a Lamar graduate. I graduated in 2010 with my bachelor's degree in business administration, and then I graduated again in 2011 with an MBA from Lamar as well. So I'm a big fan of Lamar University. Hopefully you guys are. So what makes me an expert on internships? To tell you the truth, I did one, and now I have a job. So I consider that somewhat expert level, but not really. I actually used to work for the Career Center. I've done a lot of research, so I know a lot of the stuff that goes in and out between the back end of internships, why they're important. Today, I'm going to go at it a little bit different perspective. If you guys have ever been to one of these workshops before, or if you've ever been to this workshop before in past semesters, usually they'll talk to you, say, what is an internship? How do you apply for an internship? What should you do at an internship? What should you look for? I'm going to cover that in like 30 seconds, and then I'm going to try and build a business case for you to show you guys the value of an internship, to help you realize that there is value there and how it can help you accomplish your career goals. Because obviously all of you in this room are here just to get an education, right? You just wanted to be a little bit smarter, so you decided to go to school. Correct? No. What are we all here for? To get a job. We want to make money. Otherwise, this is a really lousy return on investment, correct? All right, so Centerpoint Energy. We are a utilities company. We are a Fortune 500 company. We are one of the largest energy companies in the country. Here in this area specifically, we are your natural gas distribution. Most of you probably don't even know if you have natural gas or not. That's okay. You can come talk to me afterwards. I can explain to you the benefits of natural gas. We are, as I said, a Fortune 500 company. Our footprint in terms of distribution is in 6 states. We're here in Texas. Our headquarters are in Houston. Over in the Houston market, they actually are the natural gas and electric company. Our company is a merger of lots of different small companies throughout the years, but it originally started off as Houston Light and Power, and so they are the electric company. You probably don't hear Centerpoint's name over there. Whenever you hear electric, you probably hear names like TXU, Reliant, etc., etc. We are the guys who own the lines. We're the ones that carry the electricity to your house. They're the ones that actually sell you the line. So think of us as basically like Amazon and our UPS, and they're like the Amazon. So they're selling you the electricity, and we're the ones that deliver it. In terms of gas, we're the ones who deliver and sell you the natural gas. Here in this market, we're just the natural gas. Obviously, energy's still there. But anyways, we have about 3.3 million customers. We sell a lot of gas every year, so that's what I focus on. I work in marketing and sales, so I help work with builders, developers who are building new residential and commercial projects to get gas in those areas so that we can make sure and provide energy needs that everyone's looking for. We have a lot of people and we have a lot of money. That's basically the sums of that slide. So we are a large corporate company. I've worked, like I said, at Lamar. I've worked in small business, and now I work for a large corporation. There's benefits to both sides. How many of you know whether or not you want to work for a large corporation or whether or not you want to work for a small business? Some of you already know, but most people may not know. There's a lot of pros and cons to both. An internship, is just a little side note, is something that could help you figure that out. We do offer internships at Centerpoint Energy, and it doesn't absolutely have to always be the guys going out there and doing gas. We have everything from engineering, accounting, corporate finance, MIS, IT, etc., all of that. We have internships. So if you want a little bit more information about possibly doing an internship with Centerpoint, if you're either from the Houston area or you want to go over there for the summer, I can hook you up with some information and try and get you in the right direction. So, internships, as you saw at the very beginning of my presentation, my little subtitle is, it's a fancy word, it's not really all that fancy, that academics applies to something to basically say, you guys need experience, right? You don't learn everything you're supposed to in the classroom. We wish we did, because then our money would be worth more while we're sitting in class listening to professors. But that's just the bottom line, is that companies in the market that we're in today, they want people who have experience. They want people who have a knowledge base that you're just not going to get out of a textbook. So, what is an internship? Remember I told you I'd be real short on this? So if you, here's our thought of the day. I thought I'd just share that with you guys. That was one of the quotes that came up on my reader this morning. Keep yourself clean and bright. You are the window through which you must see the world. So, what is an internship? The first definition you'll see is a verb, which means to confine someone as a prisoner, to intern someone, basically usually as a prisoner of war, right? That's what we usually think of as internship, that kind of negative thing, right? But no, what it is, if you break it down to its roots, ship meaning being a state of being, so like a relationship, an apprenticeship is where you currently are, and then intern, the other time that we hear words like inter is like interdependent, where we rely on other people. Internships basically means you were relying upon someone else to get experience, right? They used to be called apprenticeships, right? And basically apprenticeships were a little bit different. You would actually pay someone to let you study underneath them to learn a skill or a trade, whether it was law or blacksmith or whatever it was. It was from professional to labor. You had these apprenticeships, and you actually had to pay to do it. So for some of you who think, I'm not doing an unpaid internship, think about 100, 200 years ago when you actually had to pay to get that type of experience. A lot of that's been replaced with a college education now in the system that we've developed, but there's still some value in internships. So let's play a little game. Some of these don't belong. What are some of the connotations that you've heard of whenever you think of internships? What are some of the things that you've heard, some of the horror stories? How many of you have heard of an internship before? Let's start there. Yes. All right. So have you guys ever heard of some horror stories? How many of you have ever seen The Office? Do you know who Ryan is over here? The Office? Yeah, what was some of his experience? A lot of times you hear about people having to what? Go run and get coffee, or having to go and fix the copier, or make copies, or do lots of menial tasks, right? I'm here to hopefully enlighten you guys. That is not an internship. Internships are also not necessarily always at Google. If you are in an internship and they're having you do stuff like go get coffee or go make copies or repair the copy machine, I've even heard of a lot of people where they've gotten a sales internship, and basically what you get to do is make cold calls for people. That's not an internship. Don't let yourself be fooled. Don't let yourself think, well, at least I'm getting college credit for this. It'll look good on my resume. That's a load of crap. All right. Focus on getting real-world experience. And I'm going to show you guys a few alternatives at the end of the presentation. If maybe an internship is not right for you, what are some different opportunities that you can look for, okay? So I said that I was going to focus a little bit from a different perspective. An internship basically is going out, getting a job. Sometimes they're paid, they're not paid. But you're not exactly employed. It's more of a temporary position. In fact, part of it being classified as an internship says that there is no promise of full-time employment after this set period of time. It's usually limited over the summer, a 3-month period. And so sometimes people say, well, I'd rather work over the summer and make money to pay for my college. It's a good idea, but there's also a little bit of balance that needs to happen there. So again, we're going to build a business case, okay? So every business starts off with what? It starts off with an idea. An entrepreneur has an idea for a new product or a new service, or how they can deliver a product or service different than the next guy. And so they do that. So I want you to think of yourself as your own personal business, all right? And what is your business idea? It has to be defined by yourself, but it starts off with you. There's already you. You're unique, right? We're all special, unique people, right? We've been told since we were in grade school that we're unique and we can do anything and we can accomplish all these great things in the world. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about actually reaching your full potential, whether or not you feel in yourself that you are unique. What are you here for? What sets you apart from the person sitting next to you? And hopefully you can answer that question. Now, like all great businesses, you need a good idea. So what makes you the best idea out there? What makes you a little bit different from yourself? So you have your business idea. It's you, right? What do you have to do next? You have to come up with what's called a passion. Why are entrepreneurs so passionate about what they do? Have you ever met someone who was so passionate about whatever it was, whatever business they were working at, whether it was killing bugs or selling Apple computers, they were so passionate about it? Have you ever seen Steve Jobs do a presentation before? He's an amazing presenter. Why? Because he believes in what he's telling people. He absolutely believes it. So you might be wondering why I have this little section right here. It looks like steel bridge. I used to be a civil engineering major. And I was a civil engineering major for a semester, and then I took a couple of years off, went and did some volunteer service, and I came back, and I was a little bit different. I had become more passionate about helping people. But I was like, well, civil engineering is still a good degree, it's a solid degree, and I'm not saying it's not, but it is. That's what I said, so I'll stick with civil engineering. I sat through one Cal 2 class, and I was like, nope, not happening. Don't remember how to do basic math anymore. So I decided at that point to take a step back. And sometimes it's important whenever you're in college and you're working part-time or full-time. Some of you are going to night school and you're only up here because the business school said you had to come listen to my presentation, right? You're busy. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. You need to take that time to step back, get an outside perspective, right? So you're developing your business of yourself. Figure out what you're passionate about. For me, I wasn't passionate about building or potentially building bridges anymore, or designing roads, or being an engineer. I was passionate about helping people, but a little bit different than necessarily maybe a counselor or a social worker or something like that. I like listening to people, finding out what their problems were, what their issues were, and then seeing if I can come up with a solution to that. And so with that, I went into business, and I went into marketing specifically. I love talking to people. I love finding out their stories. I love hearing about who they are. And the job that I'm in right now, I get to help these big developers who are building 50-watt subdivisions or are building this new commercial building. And I also get to talk to the little old ladies who lost their heat and they're trying to get a better heat alternative, and so they want to go with natural gas. So I get a wide variety of people I get to talk to every single day. And I love that. I'm passionate about listening to people and finding out and then coming up with a solution that will meet their needs. So not necessarily passionate about selling natural gas, but that's where I've been led to, right? So it doesn't really matter what industry I ended up in, as long as I got to do what I was passionate about doing, it kind of led me to where I am today. So you need to figure out what you're passionate about. So how do you figure out what you're passionate about? Well, if all you do is hear about it in a book, then maybe being a civil engineer sounds good, but whenever you get out there and actually do it, you're like, wait a second, I just spent 4 years, and I don't like doing this at all. So maybe we need to do a little bit more research before we get to that point, because a lot of us in this room, at least for me, I can't afford not to be happy with what I'm doing after I graduated, right? I need to get a job, and I need to pay bills, and I need to provide for my family. And so waiting until after I'd already graduated college was not a good time for me to figure out what I was passionate about and what I wanted to do. So whenever I was building my business case for myself, it came a little bit earlier. I was able to figure out what I was happy with, what made me happy, and go from there. So once you've figured out and kind of pigeonholed what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, I came up with doing some research with this model. So there's things that we're interested in, high and low interest, right? And then there's good career prospects and bad career prospects, right? You all hear about these people who have $100,000 in student loans, and you feel bad because they can't find a job. And then you say, well, what did you get your degree in? And it's whatever, art history, or sorry if you're an art history major, whatever it is. There's just some things that you may be interested in, but they're probably not going to be a good career prospect. Because even if you get a job, you're just not going to make a whole lot of money throughout your career, right? So as you think about the things that you're passionate about, what you're interested in, think about whether or not they're a good career prospect. Maybe they're a bad career prospect, but you're really interested in them. So what does that make it? That makes it a hobby, right? Hobbies don't necessarily translate into job prospects all the time, right? And so as you're developing your business, you have to figure out what your core competency is. How many of you guys are seniors in here? Okay. You'll learn about core competency as you get into business strategy and things like that. But basically, core competency is, what are you good at as a business? What makes you good? Can it be replicated? Does it provide a value to the customer? And are you different than the guy next to you, right? That's what we want to make sure. Because if you're a business that's doing things exactly the same as the person next to you, there's not anything different, and the market's already saturated, you're going to go out of business because there's no reason for me to go to you when I can just go to this guy, unless there's just so much demand that he can't take place, and so we have to go over here, right? So, you figure out what you're passionate about, you figure out what you're good at, and whether or not it's going to make a good prospect for you. Anthony Robbins is a life coach. He's a motivational speaker. And he has a quote up here, as you can see. It says, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. How many of you guys are currently working right now, part-time or full-time? Okay, how many of you guys want to keep working there after you graduate college? Every once in a while, there's a few people there. You already know what you want to do. You already have your degree. But for the most part, most of us don't want to do that. Whenever I was in college, in my undergrad, I was working part-time at a retail location. I was at the UPS store. I worked at the one in Netherlands, and I've also worked at one out of state. I had a lot of experience. I worked there for a few years. I was actually basically next in line to become a manager of the store. And it was going to be a really good opportunity. I would make pretty good money. But guess what? I didn't want to work at UPS or the UPS store after I graduated college. So I had to make a decision. And I made a decision that I wanted to get an internship. I wanted to get experience doing what I was passionate about, and that was marketing as opposed to retail. And so instead of becoming a manager at the store, I decided to quit and to get an internship. I got an internship first before I quit. That's generally good advice, to get a new job before you quit your old one. And so I moved on. If I had stayed there, I don't know what would have happened. I would have gotten good experience for sure. But if I had done the same thing I had always done, the thing I was comfortable with, if I had stayed in my comfort zone, I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I had now. Because I got an internship on campus doing design work, marketing programs, developing promotions for the Career Center. That opened up to a full-time job at the university while I got my master's degree. From there, my boss referred me to another company here locally, and so I got my first out-of-college job as my internship. And then from there, I was presented with an opportunity to come to Centerpoint through a program. My previous employer was very supportive. They understood completely. And so I can honestly say that where I am today is all because of the decision I made to do an internship. And my particular internship was here at the university, but it doesn't have to be at the university. There are opportunities. But in general, you build this network whenever you take an internship. If you stay at where you're at right now, you're probably doing okay. And again, this is for people who are maybe working part-time, who aren't going to stay at their current jobs after they graduate. But your network could be so much bigger. And how do we build our networks? You get out there. You have to step outside your comfort zone. You have to go to career fairs. You have to go and talk to people that you've never talked to before, which can be somewhat nerve-wracking, right? Especially whenever there's the potential that they could be signing your paycheck someday, right? So these are all opportunities that we can step outside of where we're sitting right now and see what we can do to increase our business. How am I going to sell more of me? How am I going to develop myself and develop my business if I don't change anything, right? So if we just stick in the same spot, then we're going to get the same results, right? And that's called insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting something different. All right, so value added. How long does the average recruiter look at a resume? Do you guys know? Yeah, somewhere between 6 and 10 seconds. So, you guys see two different resumes up here. Who are we going to hire? Or who are we going to interview? We'll just start there. Left one? Why?
It's more organized.
More organized? Okay. Anyone else? Shorter? Okay. Well, time's up. Hope you made the right decision, right? Or you hope, if this is your resume, that they made the right decision, right? So, really, truthfully, if you look at these resumes, there are some aesthetics to them that might make you catch one or the other. But for the most part, they're both marketing people. They both have degrees. This one, Bachelor's of Arts in Communication. This one, Bachelor's of Science in Marketing. They both have degrees. They both have experience. They both have internships, if I remember correctly. So how are we going to make that decision? Really and truthfully, if you look at these, they're pretty much the same person. How many of you in here are going to get a bachelor's degree? All right, so if the requirement for a job is a bachelor's degree, how many of you are now qualified for that job? Every single person in this room. So I want you to look at the person next to them and secretly plot to take them out before the job interview, right? So why are you different? Why should I hire someone over on this side of the room versus someone on this side of the room if all we're going off of is a bachelor's degree? There's not a real good answer for that, right? In terms of a piece of paper. So, I hate to bust your bubble, but bottom line, a piece of paper with the president of Lamar's signature on it just opens the door. It doesn't guarantee you a job. The only thing that guarantees you a job is your business that we developed, right? We're building this case, and we're developing your business. We're doing all the legwork, all the due diligence to figure out whether or not we should open this business, which is to go out into the workforce. So you got this piece of paper, it's a qualification, you get to check something off, but what makes you different? Internships, externships, learning things on your own, developing real world skills, those are the things that are going to help you. So all the things you're learning in the classroom will help you to learn critical thinking, they will help you to learn concepts, they will help you to learn vocabulary and jargon, but they're not going to land you a job. The only thing that's going to land you a job is developing yourself outside of the knowledge base in terms of experience. So the next step in building our business is we have to market. We have to know our market. So if you go to the Career Center, they're probably going to have a list of potential internships. I would suggest, instead of maybe just picking a bunch of internships and applying for them, you guys know which companies and what industries and what type of companies you want to work for. Go and stalk them a little bit, right? If you want to go do an internship with Google or Apple or Gigi's Cupcakes in Beaumont or wherever, go and find out more about them. Find out who works there. Do some research on LinkedIn.com or Glassdoor.com. Find out what it's like to work there. Go to their job boards. I know for instance, our company, we're Fortune 500, but even the small guys have job postings. Go onto their job boards and find out when those internships are coming up. Pick a handful of companies and say, that's who I want to do my internship with. As opposed to just kind of doing a scattered shot. Let's hit something and hopefully something pops up. Now again, you don't want to pigeonhole into just one, because there's a chance that you're not going to get that one, right? But find out what type of companies you want to work for and go after them. Know the market. Know what they're looking for. If you were going to get ready to release a product or service, you would want to know the market. So if you're getting ready to sell yourself as a potential intern or a potential good employee, you want to know the market. You want to know who's going to be hiring you. You want to know what they're doing. How do you do that? How do you research beyond just online? Because we tend to get stuck in this whole online thing. Like if there's not a job posting that's on the internet, we don't know that it exists, right? Sometimes the most important jobs are going to be the ones that aren't posted online. The ones where they just call you up and say, hey, I want you, will you come work for me? Those still happen. Networking. The career fairs that the Career Center puts on, the sessions that happen where companies come on campus and do some information sessions, and tell you a little bit about their company. Those are the types of things that you want to go to. Because even if you're a freshman or a sophomore, it's never too early to start handing out your resume or your business card or taking people's business cards, finding out who you want to work for, what they like about their company. One of my favorite questions to ask in an interview after they ask me all the questions and then they say, do you have any questions, is why do you work here? and it's always interesting to see what people say. I can usually judge whether or not I want to work for that company based on what they say, because sometimes you'll ask that question and you'll go on an interview and you'll decide that this isn't the right job for me, this isn't the right internship for me, I don't want to work here. Just as much as they are interviewing you, you should be interviewing them, right? To figure out whether or not this is what you want to do to progress your career. So after we've done our market research, after we've built our network, the other part is to get the right marketing mix, right? The 4 P's of marketing are product placement, price, promotion. You need your own personal brand. You need to decide, again, you have your core competency, you have your value added. Why are you important? What makes you different than the other person? Maybe you have a very specific skill that you've developed. You want to try and sell that. You want to highlight that one trait. What's the most important thing about you? And you want to sell that as much as possible. And personal branding goes from your resume to cover letters to what classes you take here at the university to online, LinkedIn, your Facebook page, social media, all of that stuff. You want to develop your own personal brand. Personal branding can be very powerful. We always think of brands like Kellogg or Abercrombie & Fitch or Apple or, well, not BlackBerry because they're kind of dead. But there are lots of different brands that we always think of, and you can automatically think of what's associated with that. But people can have brands as well. And to prove that, I have a bunch of silhouettes. And pretty much all of them, we can figure out what brand they belong to, right? What is this one? Sherlock Holmes, right? Napoleon.
Maryland.
Some of the others a little bit more like this one right here. Dave Matthews is who I thought of when I saw that one. These two on the side, those are you guys. What if someone was just looking at a silhouette of you? Would they make it any different than the one next to them? Right? Personal branding can be very important. Now, obviously, you're not just going to post a picture of your silhouette on your resume and start handing it out. Hope they know who you are, right? This is just an object lesson. But to take this idea that you can just see a picture of something and associate it with what it's connected to, that's the power of branding. So how does that all tie into the internships? Internships can help you develop the skills that you're going to sell. They can help you determine what you do and what you don't like. You may think that you want to work for a large corporation. You go do an internship with a large corporation, you're like, I never want to work for a large corporation ever again. It's all about small business or nonprofits or whatever it is that you want to do. Then you now know what skills you have that you can market to those guys, maybe do another internship, and you can begin developing yourself. I was recently reading on Amazon.com. It was actually a really cool story. This entrepreneur in South Africa had been over there working on helping solve a lot of social problems. She was kind of a social worker volunteer. So she wasn't necessarily hired by the state. She was just working to help people in terms of women's education, helping in problems related to poverty. And she finally said she woke up one morning and she had this brilliant idea that was going to revolutionize the world. And she said, I found what I was going to do to make a difference. And she developed this system of slow cooking food that basically changed this town, this village that she was working with, their entire economics. Instead of going out and having to collect firewood 3 or 4 times a day to keep food going, to feed families and to sell to people, they were able to go collect firewood once a week, cook the food, and then put it in the slow cooker that she developed. And they basically cut down their costs, cut down their time, their effort, and they were able to afford money for education, for clothing, for shoes. All of that came about because she found out what her personal brand was. She found out that she was passionate about something, that she wanted to develop the skills necessary, she did the research necessary, and now she's actually selling herself as well as her product to the world. Now, in all business, there's always going to be a cost associated, right? There's always a cost to business. Now, hopefully, whenever you're operating with costs, you're also operating with income so that you are in the black, right? We want to be making money. So what's the cost of your personal business? Right now, what is it, $4,000 or more a semester? So your cost right now of developing your business is fairly high. Not as high as a lot of universities, actually relatively low compared to most universities in the country. But your cost is going to be whatever your degree costs you, right? So what's your cost in terms of developing yourself and developing these skills that you learn outside of the classroom is whether or not to take a paid or unpaid internship. Now, I don't have an opinion on this, okay? Everyone's different. I took a paid internship. My wife was in broadcast journalism. She took an unpaid internship. It's all up to you. Everyone's economics are different, and everyone's business model is different, and so your costs are all going to vary, right? So, unpaid internships. What are the benefits of them? It really, if you think about it this way, an unpaid internship is really not that bad of an idea, because right now you're paying to get knowledge from your professors, whereas here it's free knowledge, but you're also not getting paid necessarily. So think of it as the most interactive class you've ever taken, and then that way it's kind of like going to school for free. Also, experience is always better than an A. So no matter if your GPA is a 4.0, I promise you, recruiters care more about what type of experience you have for most majors. Now, if you're in engineering or accounting, then you have to have a high GPA to get a good internship, et cetera, et cetera. It also helps you develop that network that we talked about in terms of marketing. It helps you do your research. It helps you know your market. And so you're able to get more opportunities and develop relationships. Now, the next slide is going to sway things in the direction of a paid internship, just to prepare you guys. Again, I'm trying to be unbiased with this. So what is the benefit of a paid internship? So there's an organization called NACE. It's the National Association of Colleges and Employers. The Career Center has access to a lot of their research. They did a survey of college students, about 2,000 graduating seniors. So, did internships lead to jobs? 63% who had paid internships said that internship led to a job. 37% of unpaid internships led to a job. People who did no internships, 35.2%. These two are almost exactly the same. This one, significantly higher. You can use your own judgment to figure out what type of internships you should probably get. Again, not forming any opinions here. Now, majors. Like I said, accounting, if you want to be a CPA and you want to work for a medium or large accounting firm, you are going to have an internship. That's just the bottom line. Good thing is, most of them are paid. Business administration or business degrees, again, most internships are going to be paid just depending on what type of market you are going into. If you're going to work for a nonprofit organization, you're probably not going to have a paid internship. And then this breaks down the rest of those degrees. But engineering, communications, business and accounting, usually you're going to be able to find paid internships. If you do research online about whether or not to take an unpaid internship, most people that pop up are going to defend both. But if you absolutely are dead set on getting an internship that's paid, that also gives you experience, you can find them out there. Trust me, they're there. Which significantly, again, lowers the cost of you developing yourself. So alternatives. Let's say you don't want to do an internship. You're just here to get in, get out. You don't want to take time off from school. You want to just go and get it done and then move on. And you think everything I've told you so far about developing yourself as a business is just a load of hoo-ha. That's fine. So what are alternatives? This guy here, his name is Charlie Hohen. He did a presentation on TEDx. Hopefully you guys know what TED is. It's really cool. They provide lots of interesting information. You can talk about anything. Anyways, he got up there and he gave a talk about doing free work. Charlie graduated in 2008, right at the height of the recession. He had a 3.8 GPA. He had done internships. He was a business major. He knew what he wanted to do, et cetera, and he couldn't find a job out of college. Because why? He was competing against people who were 35, who had 10, 15, 20 years experience, and he's trying to compete against them straight out of college. So he developed his own system, and I was going to show you guys some of the video, but I would just tell you just go watch it. because I disagree with some of the stuff he says, but most of what he says is good. But he actually presents this idea of doing free work. So as opposed to doing a 9-to-5 internship where you go in and you're locked down for a specific amount of time, he suggests building your network and finding out what you're interested in and then offering to do projects with them. So what he did is he wanted to be in marketing, but specifically entertainment. So instead of going and saying, hey, can I get an internship with MGM or whatever, he would just approach people and present to them the idea of him working on a project for free at no charge to them, and he would just work on it and let them have the work. He said most people will look at you like you're absolutely crazy and think you're just out of your mind. In fact, his parents thought that he was out of his mind and that he was just wasting time. But what it turned out to is now he is an entrepreneur. He works for himself. He does a lot of consulting work and makes like 6 figures doing it because people want to work with him. Why? Because he went out there, he did free work for some period of time, but he got a lot of experience that he wouldn't have otherwise gotten. He made a lot of contacts that he wouldn't have otherwise made. So he developed his business of himself. He went out there, he knew his market, he knew what he wanted to do, but he had to have a lot of high costs at the front end to get a lot of revenue and profit at the back end. So free work. The flexibility was that he could work with anyone in the world. There were no dead ends. Internships, by definition, are limited, no guaranteed job right. You don't have to worry about dead ends. It's just a one-time relationship with this person working on this project. When you get to work on stuff you care about, it's not like you feel obligated to go fix the coffee machine or get the coffee because these people gave you this great opportunity. You know what you're working on. You know this freelance project that you picked up. And it's something you're passionate about. It's something that your business is going to be good at doing. And he said he only had to do it for about a year before people that kept coming back to him and saying, we like your work, we like what you're doing, and they started giving him paid jobs. If you're doing this after college, that's a year without any income, so that's kind of a big deal. If you're doing this while you're a sophomore, a junior, it's you're already in college. Just take some of that time you guys have. I know you guys have lots of time, right? That was sarcasm. And develop these opportunities to do free work. Okay? The other alternative, he also says, this is one thing I do agree with him. He says that the only skill that you can put on your resume is that you're proficient in Microsoft Word. No one cares. No one cares how many words per minute you can type anymore. No one cares that you know how to use Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, Excel. We all know how to do it. They don't care. They want real-world experience. They want to know whether or not you can work in Photoshop, whether or not you know how to design, whether or not you know how to code, or whether or not you know how to formulate a balance sheet, right? Those are the types of things they care about. So he said, do not put proficient in Microsoft Office on your resume. All right. The other opportunity is to get a mentor. What is a mentor? Creepy old guys on the board? No. A mentor is someone with experience and value in the industry that you want to go into, right? There's someone that can help you make decisions, you can bounce ideas off of them, and they can share with you some of their experiences. This is a clip art of Socrates, okay? Socrates was a philosopher, right? Most of you guys have taken philosophy, right? If I were to say name a philosopher throughout history, Aristotle, Socrates are probably the two biggest names that pop up. Socrates, there's a story that he was one day doing what philosophers do, just sitting around thinking, right? And a young man came up to him and said, "Great master, I want to learn what you know. I want to have the knowledge that you have." And so he said, "Okay, tomorrow morning, meet me down by the ocean." So the next morning, the young man meets him. They wade out to the water about waist deep, and he grabs the young man by the back of the head and he shoves him into the water, and he holds him there for about 30 seconds. And he comes up and he says, "What do you want to know?" He says, "I want your knowledge." And he does it again. This time he holds him down there for about 45 seconds. Yeah, and the young man's struggling, he's freaking out. He's like, "What's this crazy old man doing?" And he comes up and he says, "What do you want to know?" And he says, "I want to know knowledge." So then he shoves him back down. And this time a little bit longer. And so he pulls him back up and he says, "What do you want?" He says, "I want air. I need air." And Socrates says, "When your thirst for knowledge is as great as your desire for air, come back and see me." That's how we should be. We should be have that same desire to get a job. We should have that same desire to learn, but not just to learn, but to better ourselves. Internships are an opportunity for you to better yourself. They're an opportunity for you to learn something, to gain a network, to define what you're good at, and to help you make decisions that will help your career, to help you be passionate and to be driven and to want to not just make money, but be passionate about your career choice. Okay? So, in summary, why do we do internships? It's because we want to develop this business plan, which is ourselves. No one wants to not have a job for their entire life, right? We want to do something with our lives, whether it's a career or whether it's volunteering with a nonprofit or whatever it is. We want to do that. We want to develop ourselves. So we have to define our competency. We have to validate that value added that we're going to offer to society, that we're going to offer to our company. We have to communicate that to our employer. We have to communicate that in a job interview and every single day that you're at the job. Why was it a good decision that you hired me? Hopefully 6 months in, they're not questioning why they hired you. Hopefully they know and are happy with that decision. And then you have to define what your cost point is. So how do internships help you to define this business plan? They help you determine what you like, what you don't like. If you're going to be miserable in a career, trust me, you want to find out now as opposed to after you graduated college, when you can't quit that job until you find another one because you have bills and you have things like that. They help you develop skills. They help you meet people, because whether you agree with it or not, it's really not what you know, it's who you know. It's just the bottom line. Almost every single job I've ever gotten was because of someone that I knew, that I was able to present to them what my skills were, and that opened up a door. In fact, the job I have now, one of my buddies that works for Centerpoint, he approached me. We were working on a community project together, free work, and he says, I'm interested in you coming about applying for this position. And so because of the network, because of the same things that I talked about today, I was able to get the job that I have here. So internships sometimes don't necessarily end with college. Sometimes that free work idea of working on other things can open up doors down the road. And it teaches you the value of work, which is really important. I'm a big fan of internships. If you want more information about how to go about applying for internships, how to find internships, what companies are coming on campus offering internships, the Career Center is a great resource. Miss Angie Thomas in the Career Center is their intern coordinator. She can give you more information. You can actually get credit for doing internships as well. So instead of taking a particular finance class, you may be able to do an internship and not do that finance class if you got a finance internship and you're a finance major or something like that, right? So I encourage you guys to go and use the Career Center as much as possible. They're not just the people that make you come sit in here because your professor said so. They have a lot of great resources. Because trust me, you don't want to be the person who's throwing their cap up on Saturday and dreading Monday because they still don't have a job. They won't guarantee you a job, but they'll give you all the proper tools necessary to make sure it happens. So with that, are there any questions, any comments? Yeah.
What is the difference of internship and co-op?
So the difference between an internship and a co-op is co-ops are a partnership with the university and a particular employer, and they actually, again, aren't guaranteed employment, but usually they'll alternate back and forth. So as an internship would be a limited, temporary, one summer type deal, a co-op would be alternating, where you go for the summer and then you come back to school, and then the next semester you go back to the co-op, etc. And they kind of build upon each other and correlate with what you're learning in the classroom that semester with what you're doing in the field the next semester with the actual co-op. So they're very similar. It's just one is a little bit more long term and the other is a little bit shorter. Any other questions? Okay.
Is that correct that job market or companies are looking for mainly undergraduate students for being internship? Because I heard many master's or doctoral students that cannot apply or do not accept the internship.
Yeah, usually that may be the case, but usually with graduate programs, there could be other opportunities as well. They may not call it an internship, but there could be an opportunity to get experience, whether it's a co-op or a fellowship or any number of things of you just going out there and working on research while you're working on your master's or doctorate degree for this particular company. There's a lot of different things that may not be classified as an internship that can still get you the experience you're looking for and open up the doors. Anything else? All right. Thank you guys so much for coming. Again, don't forget to sign out for the exam so you make sure you get credit for your class.